Each year we take a group of senior U.S. editors overseas to one important country that is somewhat underreported.
Democracy has to come from within.
At a time when a lot of U.S. news organizations are cutting back on international coverage, what we're trying to do is to give journalists opportunities to do the kinds of stories that are more important than ever before.
The press syndicate is right here, scene of daily demonstrations in recent days. This place is usually packed with riot police standing by, waiting. But obviously today is a quiet day.
Times have gotten a little harder for newspapers, and travel budgets are tighter than they used to be. So an opportunity like this can give you a basis of coverage that you wouldn't get some other way.
I spend all my days in an office making decisions about what stories to run on Morning Edition every day. And I make those decisions without being out in the field. The chance here is to get on the ground and get past the the slogans, the bumper stickers, and find out who are the people we're trying to understand.
Especially since 9/11, a lot has been written about the Arab world and the sentiments of people living in the Arab world and in the Muslim world. As an organization, we feel that the best way of learning about the Arab world is actually to go there and experience it yourself. Could you put your headscarf on now?
Now I'm veiled.
One of our first meetings, we went to visit Al-Azhar University and the mosque. And Al-Azhar is the seat of Sunni Islam. We met with the Mufti of Al-Azhar, who's the one of the two most senior spiritual authorities on Islam. And we asked him a lot of questions about the role of Islam and the controversies that surround day-to-day interpretations of Islam.
In a recent sermon you said, may God grant victory to the Mujahideen. Who were you referring to when you said that?
والجهاد أساسا في الإسلام يبدأ بجهاد النفس.
It starts with jihad of the soul. The lesser jihad is defending the nation or stopping the transgressor.
What's your position on the extension of the emergency law in Egypt?
ولكنني أنا أريد
I wish for my country greater freedom, greater stability, but also greater resistance against terror.
Democracy is an important theme on this trip.
Hello, Andrew Sussman, BBC Public Radio International. Pleased to meet you.
Egypt has publicized that it has started on a political reform process. They had 3 elections last year. We've come after those elections to see what the legacy of that electoral process has been.
Do you think American policy to encourage democracy in the Middle East makes sense for the Middle East?
I think very clearly that we should not try to impose a solution. And America should not. I don't think it does, by the way. It does give advice, but imposing democracy is really a fallacy on its own.
We went to visit leading officials of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is a party that's officially banned. But they amount to the second largest number of candidates running as independents in last year's parliamentary elections. And therefore they are considered the most important opposition party, even though they are officially outlawed.
We are described in all the literature as a moderate, non-violent, maybe democratic or semi-democratic. We are here in this country and in the region since more than 75 years.
Meeting members of the Muslim Brotherhood was actually one of the more, I thought, interesting opportunities on the trip. And they do make a persuasive case rhetorically. What's not clear is what the rhetoric translates to in actual practice.
We want a very strong civil society. We want strong opposition parties. We believe that Islam accepts the principles and regulation of democracy under the ceiling of our culture.
So we're all these journalists kind of wandering around the whole apartment, which again I think is an incredible part of this trip. It's like, you know, one minute you're meeting with members of the Muslim Brotherhood and the next I'm in Noor's apartment.
We met with the wife of Ayman Noor, who is the presidential candidate who has now been jailed by the Egyptian government on charges of forgery.
I'm extremely sorry. I had to run to prison.
And then of course she showed up. It was a much more powerful moment than a press conference. You're in someone's home, she's coming in, she's obviously concerned and distraught, and she looked tired. Her son had been trying to kind of host us. I think it made you realize how much this is impacting people's lives and how there are really no boundaries between the personal and the professional and the political.
What we went to do today was regarding the clutches, handcuffs, okay. The handcuffs, they did a lot of injuries in his hand, especially his left hand, being pulled by the soldier, transferring him from one place to the other place, and I think they deliberately pull him very hard. They know he's diabetic, and to leave such injuries in his hand, it would stay for a long time.
Some leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood expressed many of the same concerns that you did. You seem to have some common ground with them. I know you have different ideas about the government, but is there
Difference?
Yes, what is the difference?
Yes, we have common grounds in our complaints, but they have deals under the table. We don't have deals with the regime. This is why.
Her case is really that the government here is intent on essentially doing away with the middle.
So in front of the West, they will always play this carrot and stick game. It's either us, corrupt ruling party or regime, or you see this in the back, the bearded guys.
There's a new generation in Egypt. In fact, a large percentage of the population is under the age of 25. We wanted to meet with the students both at the religious school and at Cairo's main university. We met with a number of very bright and outspoken students who represented a fairly wide gamut of political and social views, so that we could understand what Egypt's future generation of leaders is believing now.
I find that U.S. media, for example, focuses a lot on issues such as the Israeli victims of suicide bombings, but they don't give equal focus on the Palestinian victims of, Israeli aggression.
I think that some of the ideas that were expressed here were basically not about biased media as much as it was about selective coverage. I think that unfortunately some things are just simply sexier to cover. So it really would be more, popular to just basically film some Palestinians cheering over 9/11. But it really does not represent how most people felt in the Muslim world. So it's not
seeing young people getting their very divergent points of view, getting a real sense firsthand on what people in this part of the world think about people in our part of the world.
One of the keys to understanding Egypt is to look at its incredible past.
Seeing Luxor helps you understand the psyche of Egyptians in feeling that we have a culture that goes back so far. We have roots that are so deep. We have something really to be proud about.
You're just going to get the legs, is that all right?
Hatshepsut. She was the queen number 5 of Egypt.
We started at 6 a.m. and we went straight with no break through 12:30, so 6.5 hours in 100-degree heat. We took a felucca ride. A felucca is a traditional Egyptian sailboat.